Hello, bitches.
Oh,
Welcome back to
wow.
Film Fatales. Coming up strong this one. Hey, my name is Jeff.
And I'm Chase. Sorry, that caught me
Take
so
it back.
off guard.
Welcome back to Film Fatales, the podcast where we talk about our like favorite iconic actors performances.
We can't say we talk about our favorites after the episode we just put out on Naiad. Like,
Oh
that's
no.
just that's just incorrect.
I mean, Jodie Foster. I mean, it's whatever. Because we're doing an Oscar month, obviously things are going to be, some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be so. Um,
Right.
but yeah, we're in our second week of Oscar month. But before we dive in, we want to give a little different take starting from this episode where we do a little bit of a catch up and just doing a little chit chat about life first, maybe.
I
Um,
feel like we've been doing that. I don't think that's such a
oh,
huge
we're
switch up.
cutting off again.
I just don't think we've
Fuck
gotten
me.
so into it. Excuse me?
No, we're cutting off again. It's we'll cut this part
Yeah,
out.
I know.
Yeah.
This Riverside is stunning. A stunning platform so far.
Maybe it's because we've used the free version. They're not allowing us to like
Honestly,
record
though,
more than we're using. But yeah. I think they require us to like um publish it natively. Uh there's a 2 hour cap for it. But we haven't published directly from Riverside to any official platform. So but we download some of the episodes and process them later on. Oh, I was gonna ask you, do you want to share with our listeners where you are right now? And how can
that's
they
such
dox
a
you?
that's such a that's such a non-natural way to talk about ourselves. Like,
What? It's important. We're bi-coastal.
I'm in Vancouver, where I'm from, with my family for the following week. Um, yeah,
It's like a
it was
family
a
weekend? I have no idea. I just know that it's a long weekend, but
yeah, it's family day on tomorrow. But I'm here for the whole week, and then I go to Mexico. But getting here was a nightmare, a nightmare. So my flight left at 8:10 p.m. Um, but I taught English online from 5 to 7. So from 7 to 8, like, there was not obviously not enough time to get to the airport and get through security and make my flight. So I got to the airport at 4 to get through security at 4:30 to then get food to then sit down in a corner of the airport and do my teaching, my classes. And then when my classes are done at 7, I see that I have an email from Flair Airlines. Fuck you, Flair Airlines. And they've delayed my flight to 12:30 in the morning.
so 4 hours.
Yes. And all that they gave us was they were like, we're giving you a meal voucher. I'm like, okay. And they give us this meal voucher. It's $7. $7 on this voucher. I'm like,
Seven whole
what meal?
dollars.
What meal can I get, let alone anywhere, but let alone at an airport for $7?
A
I
bottle
got
of
a booster
water.
juice. I got a booster juice, and it didn't even cover the full thing. I had to pay $1. So
You probably get compensated more if you get, I don't know. There's no first class or economy.
well, the tea
It's Flair.
is the tea is that obviously I'm a petty person and I don't let things go very easily, which, sometimes makes my relationships difficult, but also comes in handy because I know that my air passenger rights, like, I'm entitled to $400 back now. So
Did you get your 400?
I have to make a claim. They make you go through the ringer, but
Of
I'll make
course.
the claim, bitch. I'll fill out the paperwork.
You need friends like this. You're the friend that speaks to the manager. You're the friend that
For real.
asks the waiters. I didn't order this shit. Like
I
you're
mean, like, come on. Like, you just gotta, like, I don't know, whatever.
yeah.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
Flair will give me that $400.
Cool. Is it like in credit or no? Yeah,
No,
probably in credit.
it's cash. No,
Oh, nice. Cool.
it's
And
a
then you're just
cash. Like
flying.
when I came back from Berlin when I was moving home, they delayed my flight for like 14 hours. I was stuck in the London airport for 14 hours because they wouldn't let me back out through security, and that
Yeah,
was my layover. Um, and they gave me $1,400 for that.
that's nice. It probably means nothing
So
to them.
know your air passenger rights, everyone. This is a PSA. You have a
Oh,
lot of air passenger rights, and you need to read them and know them.
you're assuming people can fly these days. That's funny. Um, not me dragging you.
Bitch,
I
you
hate
can
when
fly.
I hate when you mention traveling. That makes me rage sometimes
Why?
because like it's not an everyday thing. Like you make it sound so like casual. Like sometimes it makes me a little nervous. Um, but anyway,
What
that's
makes
just
you nervous?
no, just like how can anybody afford to travel these days? But I know that
Jeff, you can afford to travel these days. We've talked about this. You
we
could
did
afford
talk.
to.
I just don't want to.
Like my
Okay,
flare flights,
fine.
my flare flights are like $100. Like I'm not
But then
dropping.
but then like finding out a place to stay and like those things. Yeah. I'm getting there. I'm gonna go treat myself for a little trip this year. I just
Yeah,
don't know
you should.
where. Yeah, I want to visit my back home, see my mom for
Yeah.
a little bit. But hey,
What's happening in your life?
I taught at a workshop yesterday, which was great. Great turnout, full turnout actually.
A workshop for what? You're gonna have to
For
give people more
DJing,
context.
for community organizing through like DJing and radio DJing. Great success. People seem
Good.
to be so engaged and just like not. I feel like the right now, like I mean, it's also kind of ties into the movie we're talking about today. Like art and artists, like when we're thinking about craft, it's not really about the craft per se, but like the relationships that you build and also like the community loosely defined, whatever that means, like the community that you build and the people that supports that thing. um I feel like that makes more of like the modern artist, and like when we think about an artist, it's like the when we think about an artist's legacy, like obviously the artistic merit, but also the people that we collaborate with in day-to-day basis. That's as equally as important for me. But yeah, that's the weekend I've been up to in
And that's
Hamilton.
a stunning. You don't need to mention you're in Hamilton. And that's a stunning segue into our film this week.
Hey, look at us. It's our second week of no, third week of Oscar noms. Best
Fourth week,
actress.
bitch.
Fourth?
Yeah. We've done Emma Stone, Sandra Hüller, and
Oh
Annette Bening.
yes, fourth. We're talking about the 2023 release, Maestro, starring Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan. Yeah. Do you want to
What's it
introduce?
about? Do you want me to
Okay,
say? Do you want me to
sure.
say?
Take it away,
It's about that guy,
Leonard
Leonard
Bernstein.
Leonard Bernstein, um, very famous American conductor, composer, pianist,
Train conductor.
closeted homosexual. Uh, I don't know. It's just about it's okay. So it's about him, and It's really about his marriage to his wife. I can't
Totally.
remember her name. What's her name? Felicia.
Felicia
Um,
Montenegro.
who was an actor, a very famous actor as well, played by Carey Mulligan. So it's about their marriage as he sort of rises to huge success, huge fame, um, and also sort of leads this double life of sleeping with men, which she knows about. Like it's complicated. It
Right.
is complicated.
So jump out of brigade. Is he a confirmed homosexual, or is this he's a
Yes,
bisexual man?
he confirmed that he's bisexual before he died.
Right. I think the opening shot of his ass, his bare ass, and Matt Bomer's ass was like, I was
Literally.
like shocked. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know. I literally don't know that I was gonna come in this play and seeing this side of, obviously Bradley Cooper and Matt Bomer, who's like famously gay and handsome, um,
Yeah.
which I was like really enjoying the first scene. But um, that's pandering to the gay audience, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What are your quick thoughts about the movie? Like biopic wise and also like
Oh
performance
yeah,
wise.
another biopic. Well, how do you feel doing another biopic? You're probably
This
seething.
I'm gonna be cleaning out a little bit this episode, but I just think that this is probably one of the better biopics that we've seen in this podcast. It doesn't really read as a biopic to me. I think in my review I talked about like there's a certain like dramatic tone like Tar, but has like a domestic drama like Priscilla. With like
I
I
haven't seen
think
Priscilla. Is
I
Priscilla
haven't seen
good?
it. I haven't
Oh,
seen it, but I think the telling of Priscilla is through Priscilla's perspective of that relationship. I think Maestro could easily be kind of turned around when we kind of think about Carey Mulligan's, who actually plays the protagonist in this movie, um, which I think that which leads me to say like I think Carey Mulligan
you'd
is
say
like
Carey Mulligan's the protagonist over
totally.
Bradley Cooper?
She acts circles around him.
That
Do you
doesn't
not
make you a
think so?
protagonist.
I mean, it's like her way of grounding the relationship, and also like she's always been the lead of the relationship in a way. Like she's always like kind of seeing everything in like everything's nothing goes under her eyes, and she's like always a little faster and also more real than he is, in a way. Um, so yeah, like I think in general it doesn't really read as a biopic, but more as like um, a drama, more. I think yeah. Um,
Babe, a biopic can be a drama. What are these categories you try to
no,
fit
like
films in?
no biopic nowadays. Like the things that some of the biopics we've seen, like they're so historical. They're almost like shot as like a documentary.
Right.
Um, but I do think maybe it's credited to Bradley Cooper's directing. I think the end product feels a little bit more lived in and more dramatic, um, in different scenes so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed this movie, and I enjoyed Bradley Cooper's directing for maybe the first time. I think he really stepped it up for this film. I
What was he
think
directing before? I'm not too much of a fan
A
of.
Star is Born, which I had some big issues with the directing of A Star is Born. I
We're
don't know
actually
what else
gonna.
he's directing.
We're actually. I think there's so many actors who tried to go directing, and they're just like not good.
Yeah, we
Um,
talked about that a bit last week.
yeah, we talked about George Clooney, terrible director. Um, one or two like films that he directed, but um, yeah, like should we talk about some of the letterbox reviews that
Well, do
we've
you want to introduce what we're doing? This is a change to our regular programming.
yes. Just to add more variety and also voices on the podcast.
No, that's
We're
not even why. It's to add more structure. Like,
It's
let's
more
be real. It's
structure.
to add
I
more
know.
structure.
And to just make it more fun and just like to see how other people are reacting to the film. We're each going to pick out a letterbox review, and kind of reading it through it, but also picking out some threats that potentially can lead to more like a bigger conversation. And it's also so fun, like to see how other people think about it. So not just two little faggots who just like talk about movie here. Um, so yeah,
Do we have a name for this segment? I guess not.
uh, letterbox. I don't know.
Good one.
Shit talking. I don't. There has to be a
We'll
funny
workshop
name.
it. We'll
We'll
workshop
workshop
it.
it. Letterboxing.
We'll workshop it.
We'll workshop it. Yeah. So I picked out a 1-star review, which I think
That's
it's
crazy.
this is not a 1-star movie. I don't think. I think there's a lot of like comments that are calling this movie an Oscar
Oscar
bait,
bait. Yeah.
which I think warrants a little bit of a conversation. But so it goes. The review says this movie is a caricature, although it's inarticulate, misguided, and cinematically dyslexic. Strong words. Um, yeah, this person also talked about A Star Is Born is not their type of movie, and they feel like it's a cheap
Why are they
remake
talking about A Star Is Born?
because I think there's like the Oscar Bates conversation comes out of it because like oh Bradley Cooper is establishing himself as a director that kind of lends him more credibility maybe. Um, yeah, I haven't seen The Star Is Born, so like I find this comment kind of like helps me kind of see it more side by side a little bit more.
You haven't seen A
Um,
Star Is Born? That's crazy for a gay person.
no, I'm not that gay. I'm sorry.
That is actually wild. Like, I was frothing at the mouth to see that film before it came out.
Um, and then this viewer said that Bradley Cooper cannot act, which
That's a crazy statement.
that's a big statement, which I don't really agree with. I do think he's a great actor, but it's this film reads really like indulgent for me. The way that he directs it, and also some of the really slow close-ups of him delivering monologues. It feels really like indulgent, and that reads more Oscar baity. In a
Right.
way that Carey Mulligan is like really steadfast, but have a really like energetic performance throughout. Like
So, do you agree with this review?
I totally disagree. Um, I think it's a little too harsh. Like I mean, we think about like biopics as like this lead person, like these lead actor leading as like the protagonist, but also not looking at the other characters, but also the production value of it. But um, I was saying earlier, like Carey Mulligan is like the best thing out of this movie, and I do stand firm by it. It's my a second time watching Carey Mulligan, but um, she's just acting circles around her in a way that there's way more variety and also nuance in the way she acts. Just like accent work is just fucking fantastic. I don't know what kind of accent that was, but
Girl, we're not at Carey Mulligan yet. Let me talk about my letterbox review.
sure, go for it. We'll talk about Carey Mulligan in a second.
Someone has to keep this ship on track, and that person's me.
Sure.
My letterbox review says, and I think this gets into a little bit of qualms I have with the film. It says, I came here without knowing anything about Leonard Bernstein, and I left without knowing anything about Leonard Bernstein. And that's it. I enjoyed this movie. But I feel like it didn't get into the depths of his character more than just the fact that he was really obviously really talented, obviously really gifted. The first great American composer, I think is what they said. Like it was during a time where no great American composers or no great composers had come from America, and he was the first one. Cool. So it got into like what's driving him and what he's hungry for and all that, but I don't think it really got into Leonard Bernstein's like Bernstein, whatever. It really got into his like state of mind, like his true internal struggles. Like I feel like I don't know him as a person any better after this film. I just know his accomplishments, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah, it reads a little hollow at times.
Sorry, you cut out. What did you say?
Yeah, I think the movie reads a little like hollowed sometimes. We don't really get to see like comparing with like Tar. We get to see a really dimensional character in Tar.
Mm-hmm.
You see all the dark sides and some of the bright sides of Lydia Tar. But in this movie, like Maestro, I don't really get to know Leonard really well, other than the people that he is with.
Even just the the bisexuality of it all, I feel like I don't get a lot of, and I guess I don't need like pathologizing of the closeted queer experience, but like I just don't get a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of feeling conflicted, but maybe that's the point because his ego does really grow and he does really get like full of himself and quite selfish, I would say, in the film. And then that's all kind of brought back to center when his wife gets cancer. So I don't know. I don't know if that's fair to say, but I just feel like, and I agree with you. I didn't want to say it then, but I agree with you that I think Carey Mulligan's Felicia, what's her last name? I
Felicia
don't know.
Montalegre from Chile.
I agree that she is the focus of this film, and I think that's because you get so much more into like her psyche as a human and a character, and so it's so many more dimensions. Like her character is so multidimensional with what she's going through and what she's experiencing, and her whole she's when they meet, she's more or after they meet, she's more famous than him. She's more successful than him. And then it sort of does a switch because she cares for their kids. And so there's just a lot going on with her character where she struggles with his desire to be with men, even though she doesn't really say it. I think she struggles with it. She also, I think, struggles with um, how iconic and legendary he's become, and her career's kind of faded a bit. So there's just a lot of more dimension to Felicia's character than Leonard's. So, which does to me point to the fact that she is really who the film is about. The film is about her and their marriage, and it's obviously about his story too, but just I think to a lesser depth.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a classic trope of behind every great man, there's a even greater woman behind. Like I think like into the context of like in the 40s, 50s, like you see, I think the film does a little bit of the work of like addressing the gender politics of it. Um, but
Right.
but while like Carey Mulligan's character is like so, would you say progressive in a way that she thinks about the relationship, but um, and she kind of tolerates and accepts her husband's like queerness and being homosexual. You know, that views like that has a kind of modern touch to it. But it maybe it's just because the nature of their relationship. Um, yeah, but I do agree. Like, I don't really see a lot of like what is the actual Leonard Bernstein's like career. Like, what does it matter to him? Like, it doesn't go too far back into like why is he doing everything that he's doing. Um, the
I
movie
also
really like
wonder. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
the movie puts more focus on the domestic family drama more um, as you know like I think there's like equal screen time between the two uh, Carey Mulligan and also Bradley Cooper, so
I
um,
just feel
yeah, I think that
like,
reads a little bit more balance
hmm,
and reads it's more like a family drama to me. What were you saying?
I wish that there was a little bit more. Um, I don't know, exploration about why Leonard was the way he like what political, social, like there's not a lot of like exploration of the idea that his bisexuality would be super taboo and potentially ruin his career. Like there's all these reasons why he would like it would be such a secret kind of like I don't know, hidden thing that just aren't explored. Like none of that's really explored ever, and I think that that would maybe help inform how Leonard acts sometimes because I think sometimes the way he acts comes off very selfish, comes off very um poor, but there's not a lot of reason why. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I missed the why with this movie, I think.
Yeah, the like why is he the first great American conductor? I think that was a question I don't think the film answers really. maybe like a
But
bit
do
of
they
a.
have to answer? Do they have to answer a question like that? Like that's just something that is just known in the world.
Is that something that we just have to accept? Like, like why is his ability as a conductor not being recognized as other European counterparts or his contemporaries? But maybe like if the film decides to do more of that, it will read as like the traditional biopic that we've seen, like more technical, more historical. Um,
Well, before we get into, wait, can you hear me?
yes, yes, I can hear
Before
you.
we get into Carey Mulligan, the the biggest critique I hear about his directing is, I mean, you said yourself you thought of it as indulgent. So there's that whole scene, that whole conducting scene, um, that's really long that he apparently took 6 years to learn, which also I've heard from quite a few people who do that, know
Do
how to
you need
conduct.
6 months to
And
do
most of
that?
them are very confused why that would take not 6 months, bitch, 6 years.
6 years of conducting training? No, that bitch is lying.
Yes,
I don't believe any of this. Sorry.
that's what was said. That's a little ridiculous, is it not? That's a little ridiculous.
6 years, that means he started prepping this when even before the Star is Born. That's insane. Like that's just
No, when was The
impossible.
Stars Born?
It was like 3 years ago.
You think A Star is Born was in 2021? A Star is Born was pre-COVID.
Oh, wow, that just like flies by me.
Star is Born was like 2018.
Star is Born. Jesus fucking Christ.
Literally 2018. Star is Born
Oh
was
my
2018.
God. Okay, you're right. Well, we've
Two
aged a
years
lot since
ago.
then.
I'll speak for yourself, honey. I look great.
Stars. Maybe they thought about doing it. So can you imagine Lady Gaga as also plays Carey Mulligan's character? That would be crazy.
Oh wait, okay, let me finish my thought. So people
Sorry.
have that scene, people have called that directing choice to be um indulgent, self-indulgent. That whole scene of him conducting with no breaks and it's just Bradley Cooper the whole time. Do you think as a director making that choice to film yourself as an actor doing that, do you think that that is what people mean when they say that this movie was intended to win Bradley Cooper an Oscar?
Yes. And I think
And
that
do you
scene,
agree?
I agree, but I don't think that whole conducting scene makes no sense because it doesn't really give us an idea of how good of a conductor he is. Like you see in like the architecture, you see the audience is all filled up with like well dressed people. Like we get it, like it's a prestigious thing that he's doing. But overall, the film, like there's no conversation around how good of a conductor he is and how does he compare with other people. So the end of that film, we were talking about the ending conducting scene, right? Where he's like sweating and shit. Like that is no context at all to a point that it does read as it feels like he has seen other like one shot takes of other performances and think like, oh, this is the way to do it. This is the way to fucking finish off the movie in a really grand way for me to secure that spot. Um, but when you take everything out of it like that whole section just reads as like really vaporous and empty. There's nothing to it. I actually skipped that part. I'm not gonna lie, because I was so
Oh my god,
excited to
Jeff, you
see.
can't skip parts in a movie.
Because
That
I
is
wanted
so
to
crazy
see.
to me.
I wanted to see Carey Mulligan. I skipped a little bit of it.
She's in that scene.
She's in that scene. I know.
And I don't know. I read that scene and I think I understand people's point where it feels like a one shot take of that length. At this point, feels like the point is to do a one shot take at that length instead of anything else. But like, I thought that it was just supposed to be like a really emotional climax for him that then Carey Mulligan was watching and then they kind of reconnect at the end of that scene, right? Like, I don't know if I fully get the point of it, but I don't. hate it, I think, as much as some people do.
Right. Um,
My favorite scene, can I say my favorite scene
yes.
was, my favorite shot was, I can't remember what was happening. um, Leonard was like either composing or rehearsing, I can't remember. And Carey Mulligan's watching from the wings, and it's this really nice black and white shot of like his shadow as he conducts, and she looks so small in like this like sea of black from his shadow. And I just thought that was like a beautiful shot, just compositionally, and also a really nice foreshadowing of, I think, the ways that they sort of grew apart in their marriage.
Yeah. Um, I think it's interesting to like have two artists in a relationship and they understand the artist world and the economics, and they still like make peace with each other, and like understand that it's not really about like they understand like how artists think, and maybe that's why
Yeah,
also she kind of tolerates Leonard's ways of life and like liking men and stuff like that. Um,
right.
she makes a lot of sacrifices. My favorite scene. Maybe you can also post that scene on Insta so folks have a reference. Um, my favorite scene is when the cancer scene where she's like dressed up in this blue gown, like a medical gown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she's like trembling. They were like talking about family fun stuff at the very beginning, but then when she heard the news, like her whole persona kind of just taken over, just like shaken to the core, and she's trying to pull herself together and like just completely unraveling. But she's still holding everything into together. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
think that was a moment that I was like, she's like fucking amazing in this movie.
I didn't expect so much of the film to surround Felicia's battle with cancer. Like it really, like that was a huge focus, like time wise and plot wise of the film. Um, I think Carey Mulligan, we can get into her. I think she, as I've said, as you've said, acted circles around Bradley Cooper. I really, really think she did. She was like the most incredible thing about this film. Like every time she spoke or was even just on camera, like she was so magnetic in this movie. And I don't know Felicia. Like I don't know. Maybe that's how I'd feel if I watched Felicia act in something. Like I don't know if she was capturing Felicia's energy or what, but it was so good. She was so good in this movie. So
So good. Yeah. Like very effervescent, very articulate. Just like this refreshing energy that I don't think a lot of actors can do these days. Um, maybe it's because of the fact that she's British. Like she has some kind of upper hand in trying to channeling that kind of charm. Um,
what have you seen her in before?
Promising Young Woman
Well, she
and
was also in.
Saltburn.
Did you watch Saltburn? Yeah,
I
Saltburn.
did watch Saltburn,
She's barely in Saltburn
and I
though.
refuse to acknowledge the movie. Can I take off my cap? I'm having a heartache. I'm having a
Yeah.
headache. Jesus Christ, I'm fucking hurting. 1 second. Okay, much better. We're back. I've seen her in Promising Young Woman, which I think she did a really good job. Um, have you seen Promising Young Woman?
I have seen Promising Young Woman.
That doesn't feel like a Carey Mulligan performance to me. I feel like she reads really young on screen in that movie.
She was good.
She was fucking
If you put that movie side by side with this movie, I feel like that's so impressive that she did both of those roles so well because they feel so incredibly different to me.
totally, yeah. I feel like I don't know why. I just think about like Promising Young Woman as a Blake Lively movie. Like I just don't know why. I can totally see Blake in that movie, but for some reason, Carey Mulligan fits that role too. Um, again, like the
Yeah.
two movies like have that powerful, effervescent, like confident energy about themselves. Um, but I think this time around watching Maestro, I'm like so hooked in, like, and I'm so excited to see more of her work.
Maestro is much more dramatic. Um, Promising Young Woman is kind of playful. I've seen a lot of hate for Promising Young Woman since it came out, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And not to jump the gun, as we are not finishing our month of Oscar discussions, I think this might win. Like, this is my winning pick so far.
Is it really?
I really think so. And I do think there is a slight chance that like she might sneak in and actually take the win.
I don't know.
I do stand for my, like, not just from a technical standpoint, but like the acting choices that she's making, like, is more like it's gonna lock more deeply to the American demographic. Whereas I think the other nominations we have covered, like, it doesn't really quite locked in into traditionally what we think of as a best actress performance.
That's fair.
Do you agree? Like,
That's fair.
So what's on top of
Do
your
I
list?
think that she has a chance of winning? No, we can clip that with her winning if it happens.
Oh
but
God.
no, I don't think it's her year. I don't think I don't know. That's tough. It's honestly a good category this year. It really is a really strong category this year.
Yeah, totally. And I think, like, Poor Things being, the more I'm thinking about it, I don't think Emma Stone's gonna get this from the nominations we have seen so far. Just because,
I stand by Emma Stone's performance, but no, I stand by Emma Stone's performance. I think
we're gonna eat our own shit when the Oscars come out.
One of us is
fucking Nyad banning. Not Nyad.
Oh my god.
I'm mixing the
Annette
names
Bening.
Annette Bening, Nyad Bening.
Could you imagine if Annette Bening wins? Oh my god, we have so much work to do clipping our previous statements.
Christ. Just watch. Wait and watch. We talked about movie overall, our thoughts. We talked about Carey Mulligan's performance. I'm surprised that she's 38. Like, she plays those three ages so well.
She's 38?
She's 38 this year. From a young, aspiring to aging, and then diagnosed with cancer, and like as she accepts her death. That is way more range. Like, the perfect role for her to like actually show off. Like, she's like showing off and actually has way more range than Leonard Bernstein. So props to her. Like, I'm so excited to see her again.
She really is the focus of the film. Also, she has 3 films coming out in the next year. So that's exciting.
What are they?
She's having her moment. One is called Spaceman. It's a sci-fi Netflix film, so it'll probably suck. One for the money. I don't know what that's about. And then one is Wildwood, which is a stop motion thing. So she's doing voice acting.
Interesting. I'm sure I'll tune into some of it, but hey, I'm a Carey stan.
She really is. Movie, I would say of recent years, from Promising Young Woman to this, really is one of the more recent discoveries of an actor that I feel really strongly about.
Yes, totally. Do you have any?
I don't think there's a large group there. Oh, one thing I want to talk about before we wrap up is the controversy surrounding the prosthetic nose. I want to know your thoughts. It's polarizing. Let's piss some people off.
I'm gonna put it on the Insta as well. Like, there's a clip someone shared of like Family Guy of a nose protruding out of a movie theater, and the audience was like, "Oh my god!" I mean, I suck at describing memes, but it's a funny clip. I'll share it online.
Oh, that was it? That was the end of it?
Yeah, that was the end of it. It's a little too out there, and I think I make peace with it. The aging was done really well, but I think the nose was a little bit, a little too much. But I
don't agree. I think I fully support the nose, and I fully support their choice to do it. It was not um obscene or caricaturish at all, in my opinion. I thought it was done really well. And I think the fact that his children were so involved in this film and were some of the people who pushed for that addition because they wanted it to look as much like their dad as it could. I think I think as long as that's the case and it's done in a way that's tasteful, everyone can shut up, really. I don't think this is doing anything. I don't think this is representing any sort of stereotype or caricature at all.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I'm not the person to approve of anything. We will be the
Girl,
last
you
to
can have an
then.
opinion. You
I
can have an
mean,
opinion.
yeah, I think it's done well. I think it's part of the character work. Hey, if you need some little extra help to like bring it over the performance, I'm all for it.
Do I think that it was totally necessary? No, but I think when we're talking about something being done in a way that, like I said, is like a caricature, I don't think you can classify this as that.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like she's wearing a fat suit or anything. Like I keep thinking about, I don't know why I'm thinking about Drag Race, but like Shangela wearing a fat suit. My mind just goes to weird places. Do you have
Yeah,
any
what else is
extra
new?
extra thoughts about other actors? Can I just tell you publicly, like Matt Bomer, period. Matt Bomer
Eh,
can do it. Can do it. Like just does it for me. I don't know why.
he's like a fine, handsome man. Okay, like, but he's a handsome man. Um,
It,
yeah,
there is a scene where he realizes he's lost Leonard to Felicia, and the way that his eyes were lingering, this yearning, and realizing that in his head, like, I've lost like the love of my life, or they were lovers, like they were
yeah,
lovers.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and like he really adds a little bit of a subtlety, even just like having no screen time at all in this film. And I'm just coming out from watching Fellow Travelers, which I strongly encourage folks and you to see. Um, and like he really like does really well in this like these like little emotional nuances that he does. Um, Also, he's really handsome, so that's a bonus. That's a mad bonus. Yeah.
I didn't feel really anything about him in this film.
Right.
He's like
Understandably.
handsome, but in a way that's like so like flat, like so like okay, like we get
Not the
it. Like
slander.
there's nothing interesting about his appearance. Like there's nothing like he's like so textbook handsome that it
Yeah.
makes me like
You like
bored.
the uglies.
No, I don't like the uglies. I like people who are like sexy in ways that are not like fucking um
All American.
yeah, I
Yeah,
hate the
yeah.
all American look. That's a good way to put it. I was going to say something maybe problematic. That's a good way to put it. All American.
Okay.
The
You
all
just don't want to
American
get in
look
trouble.
is not for me. I
That's
don't think.
fair. That's fair. Save some for the rest of us. Thanks. Um, are there any final thoughts about this movie?
No, I think I covered everything I wanted to say. Um
I gave it a 4 star.
what did you rate it?
I gave it a 4 star. And you?
I I think I gave it 3.5 or 4. I can't remember.
That's understandable. Yeah.
I think 3.5. I think I gave it 4 when I first watched it, and then when I thought about some of the things that I brought up, I changed it. Which I really should probably just go with my gut rating on Letterboxd. I feel like I always like second guess my ratings, like I'm doing something important, and I need to like put so much weight into how many stars I give these fucking films. It's so stupid, but um, I think I lowered it half a star because I wish I got to know Leonard more, and
I want to see
I guess
gay
that's really it.
sex.
I kind of enjoyed the fact that it was like more implied.
Yeah, you're right.
then made like a spectacle, then made it
Also,
into a spectacle.
Bradley would never, like, he can wear a prosthetic nose for fucking 10 hours, but he will never be on a gay sex scene. Like, can you imagine that's what exactly happened?
Bradley Cooper hates gay people.
Thumbnail. Bradley Cooper hates gay people. Um, okay, I think that wraps up our episode on Maestro.
Natural.
Maestro. Um, Whenever I heard the word, I just think about Golden Girls. I'll insert a clip here. Thank you for tuning into Film Fatales. Next week we're talking about what movie are we watching?
We are finishing our Oscars month, or I guess a little bit longer than a month, with Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon.
You got cut off.
And then we can make final predictions. I didn't get cut off on my end, girl. We're fine.
Okay, amazing. Okay, girl diva. Thank you for tuning in. You can always find us on Instagram at filmmefatalespod for more memes, updates, and get a preview of our future episodes. And you can also tune into our podcast wherever you get your podcast from. And while you're there, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating because we need you. Do you want to spend a minute to give some shout out to our international listener, singular, international listener?
You say listener singular.
Do you want to list out some of
We're global.
Our
We're
global reach? We're going global, bitches. Do you want to tell them the countries?
I don't remember the countries. There's like South Africa, there's like Poland, Finland, New Zealand,
There's a
the
lot of land.
UK.
North Korea. Hello,
You got
can
cut
you hear
off.
me? Okay,
I
wait.
can now.
Okay. Thank you for your listenings. How do you say thank you in German? Just gonna say
Danke.
Danke, Dankeschön. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with another episode.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Tschüss. Bye.